The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
For new transformer for new solar installation. Location approximately as shown on the plan, which is attached. So this is a hearing before the Public Service Committee. My name is Sue Shalafo-Zephyr. I'm the chair. Committee members include Councilor Claire Frieda to my left. So this, I was a little confused, honestly, and I don't see a representative from National Grid here, unfortunately. Usually representatives from National Grid attend these hearings, and I don't see one. Oh, here he is. Speak of the devil. Hi. Are you from National Grid, sir? Yes. Okay, good. If you just want to come right to the microphone, you can introduce yourself. Please give your name.
Sure. My name is Will Fontaine. I work with National Grid out of the Worcester office. And I'm here for the petition on for Manchester Street, I believe.
That's right. Yep. Can you just explain exactly what this is accomplishing? And I didn't see it. And who is the petitioner? I mean, it's National Grid, but for which location? Who's installing the solar array?
Yeah, I believe it's a house across from where the I believe it's for 50 something.
Okay.
It's a house across the street, and the reason we're putting in, there's two poles that are right there that you'd say, oh, well, why can't you just use one of these poles? The reason being the new transformer, we have a policy of one pole, one purpose, and it's really just to keep the poles clean. It keeps them simple, because if the pole right next to the pole that I believe the service is coming off of this pole right now is called what we call a junction pole, and we have primary wires which have they're a higher voltage. That junction pole is going to another pole across the street, so we don't like to put transformers on poles like that. And then there's another transformer on the pole, the next one down. So there's not a good option. Neither one of those are good options for putting the needed transformer for the solar array. So that would be why we're putting in a new pole as opposed to using one of the existing ones that are right there.
Okay. And on the plan, it shows pole 9-3, which is on the opposite side of the street. The new pole is going on, if you're heading up Manchester Street, it's on the right side. So is this pole, it has a connection right now to pole number 9, and on the plan it has lines through it, which indicates that that wire is being disconnected, correct?
Correct. That's the existing service wire, so we'll be connecting, ideally, from that new mid-span pole. We'll be connecting to that old service pole. We're not using that pole, obviously, because it doesn't have primary wires going to it for that higher voltage. That would be more cost to the customer if we were to do that, a lot more cost. So that's why we're aiming to put in the mid-span.
Okay, and then there's there's one wire from pole 9-3 that exists going to pole 9. That's coming out. That's being removed. Yes. And then there's a new wire that will go from pole 9-3 across the street to the new pole once it's installed, which is pole 9-5, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, those are my questions. It wasn't clear to me on the plan. And which number is installing? Do you know what the address is for the solar array?
It's that 66 to 108. Let me see if I have it somewhere. 1 second. can't find the original email, but it is for that, that house that's fed off of that pole. So,
Well, 66 to 108 would be multiple dwellings.
let me see if I can.
I can show you, do you have the plan?
I do have
Okay.
the petition sketch. I'm just looking for the original email that had the
Okay.
address and all the details on there. So I mean, so that's the address we were given, that 68. So it's
Okay.
I haven't gone out and seen it, and I'm not the designer on the job. I don't know if it's a multi-residence, if it's an apartment, or if
Okay,
it's a split
it
lot
is.
or something. So
All right. All right, thank you. Council Frida, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to make sure the neighbors don't have any issue.
Right, no, exactly.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, when you said 66 to 108, is
Right.
that the apartment building?
You come to the microphone.
Yeah, ma'am, would you come to the microphone, please? Yep. Thank you. Would you give your name and address for the public record, please?
Karen Likas, 19 Hannah Street.
Okay,
My house is in back of the apartment.
okay.
So when he said 66 to 108, I'm wondering if that's the apartment building there. And would I get affected? Like, will I lose power during the day for them fixing that? And why did I get a paper in the mail if nothing's involving us?
Right. Would you like to answer the question about the potential loss of electricity during the construction or the installation?
sure. And actually, I'm just 1 second here. I'm trying to find a picture of the affected.
I think that's where it is.
I do have a plot plan, basically, of the neighborhood. And what happens is the assessors go, so many feet within the, if you fall within so many feet, I don't know if this is 200 feet or, oh, it is, it's 200 feet maybe? But anyways, I can give this to you as well,
Oh.
but it'll show you.
Yeah, that's on Macy, I'm right down here, and that's above me, I can look out the window and see their apartment. That's why I didn't know why me and the other neighbor got a paper, but nobody else on the street got a paper.
Let me ask the clerk. Do you know what was used, or what criteria was used to notify abutters?
So the butters list that's procced for a pole is 100, butters to abutters within 100 feet of the pole's estimated location. So they use
Okay.
it by parcel. And so whatever we get from the assessor's office certified as the list is what we send out.
Okay. Right.
It was about 30 butters, by the way, that went out.
Okay. I have this plan, which looks like it came from the assessor's office, and she's outside of,
I'm on a dead-end street.
yeah, but she's not even, her street's not even on this. So I don't know, I don't know if there was a mix-up, but it seems like there's some confusion about which abutters were
Could've
provided
been
notice.
mixed up.
Yeah,
I'd have to ask the assessor's department.
okay, that would be helpful, just so we know.
Sure.
All right.
So it looks like, from what I can find, it's number 63 Manchester Street that the solar is going on. It looks like a single-family house, although actually, no,
That's a
it's
condo.
yeah,
That's
it's
a condo.
looks like it could be a duplex,
Right.
at the very least. So
But that's not on Lawrence, then, yeah, that's on Manchester Street, yeah.
yes.
Okay, so it's on the same side as where the new pole is going. It's on the side of Manchester Street, so the pole's gonna be right in front of it.
Yes, it'll be on the
Yep.
opposite side of the street, but it's in front on the opposite side of the street. I can show you, I've got a picture if you like.
No, I have a plan too.
Well, I've got a street view.
Yeah.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr, perhaps while you figure out that, we're going to bring out the city council president and start the meeting at 7 o'clock.
Yep, good idea.
Okay, the time is now 7 o'clock. I'm now going to call the regular meeting of the Leominster City Council for July 10th, 2023 to order. Will you all please stand and join me for a salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now going to take a roll call of the honorable members of the Leominster City Council, beginning with Councilor Bonanza.
Present.
Councilor Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Arndinger.
Present.
Councilor Angelini.
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Deacon.
Present.
Councilor Frida.
Present?
And I am present. There are 8 members present this evening. Does the Vice President have any records to approve?
I
this
do,
evening?
Mr. President. I have the records from June 12th, 2023, and June 26th, 2023. I have reviewed them both, and unless anyone has any corrections to them, I find them to be in good order, and I'd ask that they be placed on file.
Okay, if there's no objections, then we will place the June 12th and June 26th, 2023 minutes on file. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask a motion for a recess to continue the
So
public
moved.
hearing. Councilor Bonanza and Councilor Frida. All those in favor of going into recess signify in the usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 8-0, we are now in recess. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, you may continue.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the new poll is being put in for 59 to 63 Manchester Street, correct?
Yes, that's the correct numbers.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't clear. So I don't have any further questions. Councilor Frida, do you have any questions?
I don't, is the 63 Manchester Street, is that the apartment house?
No,
No.
no, it's across the street. It's a smaller multi-unit building, but I think it's condominiums, but it's small.
All right, 63 is, well, it looks like an apartment house.
59 to 63, yeah. It's condos.
It's 59 to 63.
Mm-hmm.
The picture he showed me on the thing is the condo.
No, I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, all right. City councilors, does anybody on the city council have any questions? No? All right. If there aren't any questions, I think my questions have been answered. So, yes, ma'am? Yep.
Come to the microphone,
You have to
please.
come to the microphone, yep.
When is this supposed to take place?
I don't know that, I don't handle the scheduling.
Makes more sense.
There might be, I mean, pending this approval.
The answers.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't handle the scheduling, but, I mean, typically it's a couple weeks pending this approval. I'm not sure if there are any other needed steps on this job that would delay it. Typically, scheduling is a couple weeks out, but I can't give any affirmative dates because, I mean, we could have it scheduled for, July 20th, but then if there's either a storm or some other emergency, it could get rescheduled another week, and so it's, right now, there's no set date because we're still pending this approval and possibly a few others. I know there is I think there's a stream nearby, so I don't know if there's any needed environmental permits as well that might be pending, but I think we typically, if there's going to be any sort of outages, which it looks like you might be far enough away that there might not be any outages, but if there is, we usually send out notification for that.
All right, thank you. Okay. I don't have any further questions, so at this point, we did get a referral back from the DPW that I'll read in to the record when we come across this to vote on it. And there was no mention of any streams or anything that needed further discussion, but, so I would, at this point, recommend that the public hearing be closed.
Do you want to see if there's anyone else?
Are you
the
comfortable
public?
enough with any
That's
other
right.
questions to close it, or you want to leave it open? Are you comfortable enough?
I am. Honestly, I am. But I will go to the public, just in case there are any folks. Is there anybody here in the public that would like to comment on petition 5324? Yep. 5423, yep.
It's just for one pole, correct?
It is for one pole.
Because there's a lot of other stuff around here on this thing about fixtures and underground stuff. Okay, I'm all set.
Yeah, it's one pole, and my understanding is that there'll be one wire crossing Manchester Street to connect to the new pole for the new solar service. Is that, why don't you come back to the microphone, please?
Crossing Manchester Street.
Yeah, so it will just be the one wire, one pole, one wire. All the other fixtures and appurtenances and underground, that's mainly if ever in the future, I mean, it's just kind of standard language in when we put these through in case there's a new house that goes in where we're setting a pole and they have an underground service, we can lay an underground service cable and customer-owned conduit or anything like that. Or if we need to guy it, if there's ever some sort of structural need for guying or stabilizing the system.
Yeah. Are you all set, ma'am? I am. You are? Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So, so is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment or ask comment, basically, on 54-23? Is there anybody who'd like to comment on 54-23? And I don't see anybody in the audience, so I would propose that we close the public hearing.
Okay, the public hearing is closed, and we are back in session. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We are not back in session. Public forum.
Okay, we are now going to hold a public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on any matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone to state their formal name and address along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of council president, clarification may be given. Nobody has formally signed up, but I will ask, would anybody in the audience like to speak at the public forum? Once again, would anybody in the audience like to speak at the public forum? And for the third and final time, would anybody in the audience like to speak at the public forum? Seeing none, I declare the public forum closed, and we are now back in session, and we will move right. Yes, Councilor Frida?
If I could, I'd like to take a moment to offer a moment of silence for Ron Anson. I've been involved with the Anson family for many, many years on a number of different committees that I've been on. And I think the mayor said it best in the paper, that where do you begin on what he's done for the area? Not just us, for surrounding communities, on the state level. And he certainly has taught his children, Barry, Ken, Bob, and Kim, to have the same attitude towards helping those less fortunate, equality, inclusion. He was way ahead of his time with all of it. So at this point, I would like to offer a moment of silence.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence for Ron Anson. Thank you very much, Councilor Frida, for that. Okay, we will move right into communications from the mayor, beginning with C-1.
C-1, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that Brittany Ayers Iancino be exempt from the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20, Conflict of Interest Law, Ms. Ayers Ianchino is currently employed by the City of Leominster School Department and will be taking the position as an Assistant Program Director for our summer programs for the Recreation Department.
And C-1 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, Mr. President?
And C-1 has been given regular course. C-2.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $50,000 be made to the fiscal year '23 state and county expense line, the same amount to be transferred from the surplus and the unfunded liability expense line.
And C-2 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-2 has been given regular course. C-3.
C-3, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the expenses for the fiscal year 2024 school budget for the school, which totals $99,599,001, be reclassified to the following categories. School Department, Object 90010000, school salaries and wages, $62,426,431. 90020000, school expenses, $31,536,913. Then the item for school transportation, $5,588,074. The item for crossing guards, $46,428, and then crossing guard expense, $1,155, totaling the $99,599, $599,001 total.
And C-3 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Mr. President, once again, first time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-3 has been given regular course, and we have one petition, first time on the calendar, 1-24.
Mark C. Bedanza, Ward 4 Counselor, requests to amend Chapter 13 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 13-75, Speed Limits, Specific Streets, by inserting the following: Manchester Street at 25 miles per hour.
And 1-24 will be referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course with a referral to the Leominster Police Traffic Division, please. And we have to establish a public hearing, and I understand that it would be July 24th at 6:50 p.m.
Okay, so 1-24 will be given regular course with a referral to the Police Department Traffic Division. And we will take a vote to have a public hearing for July 24th, 2023 at 6:50 p.m. All those in favor of establishing that public hearing signify in usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 8-0. The public hearing has been established for July 24th at 6:50 p.m. Moving on to matters before the City Council, is the Chairman of Finance have a financial report?
I do, Mr. President. This will be the briefest financial report you could ever have. The fiscal year started on July 1st of 2023 with a balance in the stabilization fund of $21,487,193. We have had no additions and no subtractions, so the balance remains the same as stated, and that is the financial report.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, that was easy. Moving on to items under Councilor Frida.
Just a comment, it would really be nice if the state told us what we were getting for money, so you could alter that financial report a little bit, hopefully. I mean,
We might get a budget from the state at some point.
it's incredible
One of
that
four in
just
the country that
never
doesn't
can get to June 30th and have a budget done.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the first item under Finance, C-91. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am C-91, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request that an appropriation of $400,000 be made to the stabilization fund, the same amount to be transferred from the Barrett Park Grant Fund. This is to reimburse stabilization for the amount that was paid in advance for the project. This project was done with a state grant, and this council appropriated $588,000 for that purpose, 80% to be reimbursed by the state. That has in fact happened, and as suggested at the time that the $588,000 was appropriated, we would eventually return the received grant funds to where we borrowed them from, which is the stabilization fund. And if we approve this tonight, we'll see that in the financial report next time around. It'd be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-91. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee, please.
Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Councilor Angelini.
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-91. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-91 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-91 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, order that the sum of $400,000 be appropriated to the stabilization fund, same to be transferred from the Barrett Park Grant Fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, the order for C91 has been adopted. Moving on to C93.
C-93, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $55,000 be made to the OPEB contributions line, the same amount to be transferred from the surplus in the general fund group insurance line. This is a inter-budget transfer. There is some surplus money in the fiscal 20, this is for fiscal 23 budget for group insurance, and not quite enough in the OPEB normal contribution as a result of new hires, as new retirees. There's been a greater sort of cost associated with OPEB normal costs. The state does allow us to do this, even though transfers out of stabilization of free cash are over at the end of the fiscal year. You can do inter-department transfers, the comptroller tells me, through the end of July. So that's what they're doing here. It would be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-93. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-93. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-93 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-93 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, order that the sum of $55,000 be appropriated to the OPEB contributions line, the same amount to be transferred from the group insurance line. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request of the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, the order for C-93 has been adopted. Moving on to the last item under finance, C-94.
C-94, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, moved in connection with the Twin City Rail Trail project, that the City Council of the City of Leominster, on behalf of the city and by virtue of and in accordance with authority granted by the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 14, as amended, and any and every other power and authority which is hereunto in any way enabling, authorize the mayor to acquire by gift, purchase, or eminent domain the fee interest in land and improvements thereon shown on a plan of land prepared by CX Transportation entitled Exhibit A GIS 55541-001, Leominster Mechanic Street, dated June 30th, 2022, on file with the city engineer. And further, to appropriate and transfer the sum of $1,200,000 from available funds, including without limitation, funds received from grant from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, EEA, and funds received in connection with the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, and further to transfer and dedicate said property to be acquired for purpose of establishing, constructing, operating, improving, and maintaining an improved multi-use trail for transportation, open space, and active recreation purposes, including access thereto, and for all the purposes for which rail trails are used in the Commonwealth, and further to authorize the mayor to take all such actions and to execute all such documents and agreements as are necessary and/or appropriate to accomplish the foregoing. In connection with this communication, we received a letter from the mayor dated June 22nd, 2023. Dear members of the City Council, I am requesting your support for the attached petition involving the Twin City Rails Trail. As you know, the Twin Cities Rail Trail is complete on the Leominster side with the exception of the purchase and development of the final piece from the intersection of North Main Street and Main Street to the downtown train depot. Negotiations with CSX have been lengthy and challenging, but we are pleased to come to a resolution for the purchase of the final piece for $1,200,000. With respect to the funds to purchase, the city has received a grant in the amount of $1,500,000 from the state. $1 million of the grant is provided upfront and is in the city account for the rail trail. The remaining $500,000 of the grant is reimbursable. CSX is requiring that all funds be in hand at the time of the closing and did not approve of a portion of the funds being reimbursable. Therefore, we are utilizing $200,000 of ARPA funds to satisfy the CSX requirement. We will then reimburse ARPA immediately after the sale and subsequent reimbursement from the state. The remainder of the funds in the $1.5 million grant will be put toward the actual construction of the final piece of the rail trail. The construction project is currently under design. We will be receiving additional state grant funds to complete that portion of the project. Thank you for consideration of this matter. Amanda Curtis, Wendy Weeks, and I are available for questions at any time. Due to the complex nature of this project, it would be appreciated if the council would consider approval at the July 11th, 2023 meeting. So the mayor set it out pretty clear there. The first phase of this project is to purchase the easement from the railroad. That's going to cost, as the mayor indicated in his communication, $1.2 million. In fact, we are in receipt of $1 million of that purchase price, and we're going to use, or we're going to borrow $200,000 from the ARPA funds in order to satisfy the balance of the purchase price, and then reimburse that once we receive the entire $1.5 million grant. It would seem appropriate to complete the project as it was envisioned from the beginning. I think the funding seems solid in terms of the city's interests therein. And, Mr. President, it would be my position to grant C-94. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
And I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-94. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida?
Just a quick question through you to the finance chair. This is the piece through Carter Park?
It is.
I'm assuming
That's
that's been
correct.
controversial for a while?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr?
Just to clarify through you to the finance chair, because I had asked about this earlier, the drawings were really hard to read, but the original plan was to terminate at Mechanic.
Correct.
But that's changed. So now the new termination of that Phase 2 is at
Train depot.
the train depot. Right. Okay. I just wanted to make that really clear because it was confusing. And if anybody out there was thinking, oh, no, it's going to Mechanic Street, it is not. It's been changed. The plan's been changed.
Right.
Okay.
It's expressed in the communication we had from the mayor as well as the petition itself that it's train depot.
Councilor Frida?
Just through the chair to the counselor to my right. You weren't here at the last meeting, and I think that we corrected the original plan
Right.
to change that.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-94 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-94 has been granted. I believe there is no order at this time, right? Okay, so now we will move on to the item under Legal Affairs, which is 13-18. Is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. 13-18, accept the deed for Katy Lane and request the street be taken by eminent domain by the city of Leominster. Petitioner offers to pay any legal fees that may be incurred. As you're all aware, this had been on the table since 2017. We took it off the table on June 12th. In the meantime, we'd asked for referrals from DPW and the planning board, detailed referrals. The planning board is yet to meet, so it would be my position, Mr. President, to request further time, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Bedanza?
I'm in favor of further time.
And Councilor Deacon?
I'm in agreement.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give further time to 13-18. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida?
I agree with further time, because I think it's very important to get the planning board comments. There were a number of conditions back at the time that this was all done, and I'd be interested to be sure that all those conditions have been met and the planning board is satisfied with those. So I agree with further time.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All those in favor of giving further time to 13-18 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, that petition has been given further time. We're now going to move on to 54-23, of which I do need to abstain because, once again, this pole is probably going to be partially owned by my employer, and I'm going to ask the Vice President to do what she has to do, and I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just going to send it over to the Chairwoman of Public Service, Peter Zephyr.
Thank you very much. So this is 5423. We had a public hearing earlier this evening, and I'm just going to read the first part of it and the location. I think that that's important in case anybody in the public missed the public hearing. So Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA National Grid, and Verizon New England request permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way. Manchester Street, National Grid to install one jointly owned pole on Manchester Street, beginning at a point approximately 215 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Lawrence Avenue and continuing approximately 20 feet in a north direction. Install one X pole for a new transformer for new solar installation. So we did hear from the National Grid representative earlier, who answered some questions and that I certainly had. And also, there was some confusion about the abutter notification that I will clear up through the clerk with the assessor's office. We did get a referral back from the DPW director, and I will read that. Ms. Caitlin Huffman, regarding petition 54-23. Dear Caitlin, the Leominster Department of Public Works has reviewed the petition to install a pole on Litchfield Street and offers the following comments. That's wrong. He means Manchester because the poll numbers are correct.
Yeah.
Right, so I think he means to say Manchester Street. The DPW approves, and I actually confirmed something else with him, so that's why I know this is correct. The DPW approves the petition as submitted with one condition. It appears that proposed overhead wires between proposed pole 9-5 and existing pole 9-3 will pass through the crown of an existing maple tree on the south side of Manchester Street. If the tree is negatively impacted from trimming, then the applicant should remove the tree. Please let us know if you have any questions. Sincerely, Raymond Racine, DPW Director. I did follow up with the director and asked if the tree that he mentions in his referral is on city property, and he indicated that yes, it is. So there's no concern about having to worry about a person, somebody in the neighborhood owning a tree that might be impacted by this. So that's the DPW referral back. So at this point, my recommendation would be to grant 54-23.
And Council Frida?
I'm good with that.
So you have a unanimous recommendation of the Public Service Committee to grant 54-23. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, does this need to be by roll call or just? Okay. All those in favor, please signify in the usual manner. Opposed? By a vote of 7-0, 54-23 has been granted.
Okay, moving on to items under Ways and Means, C-92. Madam Chairwoman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. C-92, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that Emma Barnaby be exempt from the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 268, Section 20, Conflict of Interest Laws. Emma is currently employed by the City of Leominster School Department and will be taking a position as Program Director for the Leominster Recreation Department. We do have a letter here from the Mayor's office that I had right in front of me. Dear members of the City Council, I respectfully request that Emma Barnaby be exempt from the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, Conflict of Interest. Emma is currently employed by the City of Leominster School Department, will be taking a position as a Program Director for the Leominster Rec Department. Attached with this letter is the full disclosure of financial interest by a municipal employee. And if you have any questions, feel free to call. We have the proper documentation included with the letter. This comes up, and it usually comes up this time of year of people that are in the school department that will pick up and do extra work for the city. This happened to be with the recreation department. So all the paperwork is in order, so it would be my recommendation that we grant the exemption.
Okay, Councilor Arndinger
I agree.
and Councilor Schaffel-Zephyr.
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant C-92. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-92 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-92 has been granted. We now have few, more than a few, maybe 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 7 first readings of an ordinance. So I am going to ask, first reading of an ordinance on the former petition 45-23. Mr. Chairman of Legal Affairs, are you ready to report?
I am indeed, Mr. President. And before I read these, I just remind everyone that our last meeting, we had Sergeant Greg Robichaud from Leominster Police Traffic Division here. And for the ordinances that didn't provide written referrals on, he testified publicly that night. So these have all been blessed, and I will begin with 45-23. Which is Julio Ramos, Officer, Leominster Police Department, requests an ordinance amending Chapter 13 of revised ordinance entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. Chapter 13, Section 13 through 24, the revised ordinance entitled No Parking on Certain Streets is hereby amended by inserting the following text. West Street, north side headed west from point being 709 feet from the intersection of Blossom Street to a point of 794 feet from said intersection. And then the ordinance reads as follows. In the year 2023, an ordinance be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 13, Section 13-34 of the revised ordinances entitled No Parking on Certain Streets is hereby amended by inserting the following phrase, West Street, north side headed west from a point beginning 709 feet from the intersection of Blossom Street to a point 794 feet from said intersection. Mr. President, it would be my recommendation that we adopt the first reading of the ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Council Bonanza?
I'm in favor.
Council Deacon?
In agreement.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Council Bonanza.
Yay.
Council Cormier?
Yay.
Council Arndinger?
Yay.
Council Angelini?
Yay.
Council Shalfo-Zephyr?
Yay.
Council Deacon?
Yay.
Council Frida?
Yay.
And I would be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The first reading of formally petition 45-23 has been adopted. Moving on to 47-23.
47-23, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor, requests to amend Chapter 13-77 stop signs and add the following eastbound traffic on Richard Road at Central Street. Ordinance reads as follows. In the year 2023, an ordinance be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 13-77 of the revised ordinances entitled Stop Signs is hereby amended by inserting the following. Richard Road against eastbound traffic at Central Street. Mr. President, it would be my recommendation that we grant the first reading of this ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Council Bonanza?
I'm in favor.
Council Deacon?
Agreement.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Council Bonanza.
Yay.
Council Cormier?
Yay.
Council Arndinger?
Yay.
Council Angelini?
Yay.
Council Shalfo-Zephyr?
Yay.
Council Deacon?
Yay.
Council Frida?
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The first reading of this ordinance has been adopted. Moving on to 48-23.
48-23, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor, requests to install a stop sign against southbound traffic on Richard Road at Sawtell Road. Be it, in the year 2023, an ordinance, be it ordained by the City Council of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 13-77 of the revised ordinances entitled Stop Signs is hereby amended by inserting the following. Richard Road against southbound traffic at Sawtell Road. Mr. President, it would be my recommendation that we adopt the first reading of the ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Council Bonanza?
I'm in favor.
Council Deacon?
Agreement.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Counsel Bedanza.
Yay.
Counselor Cormier.
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger.
Yay.
Counselor Angelini.
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Counselor Deacon.
Yay.
Counselor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The first reading of this ordinance has been adopted. 49-23, Mr. Chairman.
49-23, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 City Councilor, request to install a stop sign against northbound traffic on Karasowitz Lane at Richard Road. In the year 2023, an ordinance, be it ordained by the City Council of City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 13-77 of the revised ordinances entitled Stop Signs is hereby amended by inserting the following: Karasowitz Road against northbound traffic at Richard Road. Mr. President, it would be my recommendation that we grant the first reading of this ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Did you say Karasowitz Road or Lane?
Road.
It says Karasowitz Road here,
Well, we need to amend that because it's Karasowitz Lane.
okay? You can thank AP for that one.
Okay. I'll thank him tomorrow.
All right, so do I have a motion somewhere?
I'll move to amend the ordinance form provided by KP Law to Karasowitz Road as opposed to, to Karasowitz Lane as opposed to Karasowitz Road.
Okay, Counsel Bedanza made the motion. Counselor Shalfo Zephyr seconds it. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion signify in the usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 8-0. It has been changed to Karasowitz Lane. Should we read it again, or no? No. Okay?
Mr. President, it would still be my recommendation that we adopt the first reading of the ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Counselor Bedanza.
I'm in favor.
Counselor Deacon.
In favor.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the first reading of this ordinance as amended. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to do this one on a roll call vote, beginning with Counselor Bedanza.
Yay.
Counselor Cormier.
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger.
Yay.
Counselor Angelini.
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Counselor Deacon.
Yay.
Counselor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The first reading of this ordinance, 49-23, has been adopted. Moving on to 50-23.
50-23, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor, requests to install a stop sign against southbound traffic on Karasowitz Lane at Sawtell Road. The ordinance, again.
Yep.
In the year 2023, an ordinance, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 13-77 of the revised ordinances entitled Stop Signs is hereby amended by inserting the following: Karasowitz Road against southbound traffic at Sawtell Road. So we'll be looking to amend this one as well, Mr. President.
Okay, do we have a motion to amend this one? Counselor Shalfo Zephyr, and seconded by Counselor Bedanza. All those in favor of the amendment signify in the usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 8-0. This has been amended to read Karasowitz Lane. Mr. Chairman, I'll ask for your recommendation.
It would be my recommendation that we adopt the first reading of the ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Counselor Bedanza.
I'm in favor as amended.
Counselor Deacon.
Agreement.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Counselor Bedanza.
Yay.
Counselor Cormier.
Yay.
Counselor Angelini, Counselor Arndinger.
Yay.
Counselor Angelini.
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Counselor Deacon.
Yay.
Counselor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The amended version of the first reading of this ordinance, formally 50-23, has been adopted. And we have 52-23, Mr. Chairman. Are you ready to report?
I am indeed. 52-23, Julio Ramos, Officer, Leominster Police Department, requests to amend Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. Chapter 13, Section 13-24 of the revised ordinance entitled No Parking on Certain Streets is hereby amended by deleting the following text: Stearns Avenue, north side, from Highland Avenue to Blossom Street, between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Stearns Avenue, South Side, from Highland Avenue to Blossom Street, between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Chapter 13, Section 13-24 of the revised ordinance entitled "No Parking on Certain Streets" is hereby amended by inserting the following text. Stearns Avenue North Side from Highland Avenue to Arlington Street between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. Stearns Avenue South Side from Highland Avenue to Arlington Street between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. Mr. President, it would be my recommendation that we adopt the first reading of this ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Counsel Bedanza?
I'm in favor.
And Counsel Deacon?
I'm in favor.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to do this in roll call vote, beginning with Counsel Bedanza.
Yay?
Counsel Cormier.
Yay.
Counsel Arndinger.
Yay.
Counsel Angelini.
Yay.
Counsel Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Counsel Deacon.
Yay.
Counsel Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The first reading of this ordinance has been adopted. Moving on to 53-23. And, Mr. Chairman, the city clerk, you're not missing it. The
Yeah,
city clerk's indicated that she hasn't, he forgot this.
Unfortunately, KP Law neglected to return 53-23 in ordinance form. I know the clerk had followed up, so would you please continue to follow up and ask them to make sure that they have it for our next meeting, please?
So for 5323, because I saw you telling me you have it, it doesn't match the appropriate way with the right streets, west, for west and
That's okay.
eastbound.
Okay.
So we got the same one twice, and I let him know that he sent us the same one twice in ordinance form, and he's on vacation, so I won't hear back from him until next week for 53-23.
So, in light of that, Mr. President, it would be my recommendation to seek further time, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Okay, Counsel Bedanza.
Regretfully, I'm in favor.
Okay, Counsel Deacon.
In agreement.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 53-23 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 53-23 further time signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, 53-23 has been given further time. And is there any other new business to come before the City Council? Seeing none, we do have a piece of old business, which is a May 25th, 2023 letter from Health Alliance. You should have all finally received that. I know there was some concern at the last meeting, Councilor Frida had mentioned. I was indeed not withholding this letter in any way, shape, or form. I checked all of my email boxes, my inbox, my focus box, my junk mail. I found nothing. So I actually had IT go right into the system to see what was going on with my email. And they confirmed that nothing was received by my email anywhere. It never even hit the database. So it wasn't a problem with my device. So I did speak to Health Alliance. I spoke to Tricia Pistone, and I indicated to her that nothing was sent, that IT had went in and checked. And she indicated after I gave her my city email address and asked her to send it to me, and it came through. And when I indicated to her that, after we went back and forth, that I had got nothing, she compared what I had given her for an email address to where they had sent it to, which they had gotten off the city's website. And all of the emails on the city's website were correct, except for mine. There was a typo made when they did the website. So if anyone was trying to email me externally, then I guess I wasn't getting it. And I had a couple of people over the past few months. I think Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, you might have been one of them. Maybe you were trying to extract my email from the city's website, and it was bouncing back. But if you put my name in and you're dealing internally, I was getting them. But if you're trying to do it from the city's website, the address was wrong, the link was wrong on there, so it had bounced back to them. So in any event, I did not have the email, and I was able to get a problem fixed as well. So this is the email that was received. I don't know if anybody wants it read. Do you want it read? Anybody have any desire for me to read it?
Sure.
You want it read?
I mean,
Okay.
for the public. I mean,
Sure.
I've read it
Okay.
10 times, but
Okay. And
I think for the public watching, it might be
Sure.
a good idea.
so this was from Steve Roach, the president of Health Alliance, dated May 25th, 2023. Dear Mayor Mazzarella and City Council President Cormier, per our calls to you earlier today, we wanted to share an update about some changes planned for Health Alliance Clinton Hospital. After much consideration, we have decided to submit a notice to the Department of Public Health proposing the closure of our maternity inpatient unit on September 22nd. Our top priority is the health of our patients and communities, and that includes ensuring that the services we provide are consistently accessible and of high quality. In recent years, industry-wide workforce shortages have made consistent staffing a challenge despite our efforts to recruit and retain caregivers. This, along with the declining number of births in our area, has impacted the unit's future capacity to provide labor and delivery care to our patients. This decision was incredibly difficult for Health Alliance Clinton Hospital. For decades, our caregivers in the maternity inpatient unit have helped thousands of parents and families navigate the birthing journey and welcoming new loved ones into their lives. We are truly grateful for the outstanding care our caregivers have provided to every patient who has come through this unit. Health Alliance Clinton Hospital intends to offer maternity inpatient services through September 22nd. From that point on, our patients can continue to receive their prenatal, postpartum, and pediatrics care and deliver within the UMass Memorial Health System at UMass Memorial Center, or can choose to receive care at one of the many other high-quality hospitals in the region. Currently, the medical center cares for Health Alliance Clinton Hospital's high-risk deliveries and roughly one-third of the community's deliveries in total. We will also work closely with our community obstetric and pediatric providers to maintain access to parental and postnatal care, as well as invest in services that meet the needs of the communities we serve. We also will be making investments in other community organizations to maintain access to vitally important women's health services in the region. Moving forward, we are committed to ensuring our patients have access to the high-quality care they deserve and will remain transparent throughout and committed to our central mission of providing equitable care throughout this process. Thank you for entrusting us with your care and for ongoing support of Health Alliance Clinton Hospital and to our amazing caregivers. Sincerely, Steve Roach. So that, in and of a nutshell, was that they're intending on September 22nd to close down that unit. The only update I guess I have since then is that we have on July 24th at 6 p.m., I believe at the Doubletree, is going to be the required hearing that has to take place with the Department of Public Health. I'm sorry? And that happens to be one of our city council meeting nights.
Right.
So we will be here for a time. And other than that, I have no other information regarding this situation. I would have to assume that 2 weeks from tonight, they will be publicly, telling us where they stand, and in the Department of Public Health, which is the jurisdiction that is held with the state, and I guess we'll go from there and wait to see where that goes from there. So. Okay, is there any other discussion regarding this letter? Councilor Schaffel-Zephyr.
I just have something else to add. I mean, there's an organization, a group of people that have organized around this whole thing, and I think it's called Community Alliance, I think, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but working very closely with the Mass Nurses Association. And there is a baby stroller brigade to save our birthing center at Leominster Hospital. It was supposed to be tonight, but they moved it to July 17th. at 6 o'clock in the Leominster Town Common. So people are going to come down with baby strollers and whatnot. And there was a meeting a week or so ago at the synagogue organized by this community group, and people from various local social service agencies, as well as Congressman McGovern's aide. The state delegation was there, Senator Crone, Representative Higgins, Representative Kuchmarek, Meg Kilcoyne from Clinton. And there were a lot of people there. I think there were over 200 people there. And people are very, very concerned because the party line that Health Alliance and Steve Roach and other folks, are feeding the public is that births are down in this region, which is not the case. They're also saying that they have a hard time staffing the nursing positions, which is also not the case when you talk to nurses on the floor. They haven't followed up on applications that have been submitted. So it's a problem of their own creation, and nobody understands really why. They say, on the one hand, that maternity services, labor and delivery doesn't, it makes money for the hospital. But on the other hand, they want to eliminate it, and I'm not sure why. The alternative for people here, who want to come here, live here, start families, what they're proposing as options is, a 30-minute drive to Gardner Hospital, Haywood, depending on where you live in Leominster, a 30 to an hour, 60-minute drive to Emerson and Concord if you want to, deliver there, or, a fun ride to UMass Memorial in Worcester, which is also can be a very long ride. So I don't think those are real options for the, folks that live in this region. So it's a very big problem. There's a lot of pressure being applied on UMass. It's been delivered by, the federal delegation as well as our state delegation. And Senator Cronin sits on the Healthcare Financing Committee in the Senate. And, they've invited the state auditor because I think it's $30 million was given to UMass over the last couple of years or the last year or so. So they want to know how that money's been spent. Because when UMass, and I've heard the mayor say this over and over again because he was here and was part of the negotiation. When UMass took over Leominster Hospital, a big part of the effort was to expand services, right? They wanted to bring more and better healthcare services to the region. And they've done exactly the opposite. They have cut services, and they've made it much harder for this region, I think, to get quality care, especially because transportation is it's a deterrent, it's a challenge for many, many people. So I would encourage anybody out in the public who's heard about this to get in touch, come downtown. Monday, July 17th at 6 o'clock, right at the downtown common, because the more noise and the more pressure that can be put on, both Worcester trustees as well as local trustees at Health Alliance. I think that's very, very important. They need to hear loud and clear that, we are the people that they're supposed to be services. Our community are the people that they're supposed to be providing health care to. So they need to hear that. They need to hear it loud and clear, and they need to really feel the pressure, feel the heat, because this, I think, is just abominable to leave this area of, when you add in Fitchburg, Leominster, Gardner, or surrounding towns, it's 100,000 people. And a lot of these folks are of childbearing age. So anyways, it's a real, it's serious. It's very, very serious. They stripped away psychiatric beds. They took away inpatient pediatric beds. They took away cardio and pulmonary outpatient rehab facilities for people that needed that kind of rehab, and now they want to take out labor and delivery. The obstetricians, the local pediatricians, if you've read anything in the Globe, if you've read there was a telegram, the doctors are coming out to say, this is not a good thing. The emergency department, which does not have the expertise to deliver babies, is going to be, they've delivered babies in the parking lot, but they've at least had the maternity ward to contact to say, look, we need your expertise down here right now, and the nurses come down and take care of that mother and, baby if they're critical. So the docs are speaking out as well. The nurses certainly have organized. I think people in the community really need to understand that this is one step, I think, too far, and we need to stop it now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Frida.
I know our charter is very clear about not changing meetings unless there's an emergency. But do we think, I'm not so sure that most of us shouldn't be at this public hearing. This is a state DPH hearing. And I'm not so sure that we shouldn't be there. And if a majority of councilors choose to be there, you wouldn't be able to have a meeting anyway. Can we talk about maybe changing that to Tuesday or doing something? I know what the charter says. I've been through this when we had a hazardous spill in the parking lot, and we had to try changing the meeting, and we couldn't do it because our charter was very clear.
I was the city solicitor.
I'm sorry?
I was the city solicitor.
Yeah, that was quite an experience.
The problem that night was that at that time, the charter said the meeting had to be in the
City
municipal
Hall.
building. Now it doesn't say
Then we
that.
changed it after, yeah.
So,
I mean, this is extraordinary, obviously, to have it on the same night, and you would have hoped that DPH would have looked a little closer at least the legislative bodies in the communities to see when their meetings were.
Right. Well, you know, again, this isn't on the agenda, you know, to change our meeting. I'm just being asked the question now, so I can't speak to it. I'd have to ask Brian Riley. I don't have an answer to the question at this point, other than based on what I know now. You know, we're required by local ordinance to have a meeting on the fourth Monday, and I don't know that this would constitute, you know, the kind of an emergency that, you know, if there was a gas leak in this building and we can't meet here, we can't meet. But I don't know about changing a meeting because
I'm not
of,
suggesting
you know.
that it's an emergency. I don't think I used that term at all. I mean,
Right.
I'm talking about if you had a majority, not that it's gonna happen. I don't know what anybody thinks about the meeting or what anybody thinks about the hospital issue. But if you had a majority of this council that decided it was important to be at that hearing, and they're not here at the meeting, then you're gonna have an issue with the meeting as well.
Right.
So
Right.
I think it's worth the discussion, whether it's not on the agenda, but you just read a letter regarding the closure. So I think it can be a little bit of a discussion.
Okay. Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr?
Yep, I certainly plan on being at the DPH meeting. I think it's really important. I think public statements and, you know, we all, you know, unanimously passed that resolution as a council, and I think that that's, you know, the right message, the right tone. You know, we strongly object and we demand that they take that back. I mean, and I think it's really important that people show up to represent the people that we all represent, right? So I plan on being at that meeting. I mean, maybe I'll be able to speak, you know, early and not have to stay for a long time, and I can get here on time to make our meeting. But this for me, it's a huge, huge issue. It's very important, and it strikes really at the heart of a community hospital and what kind of services we're supposed to deliver. So I'm going to be at that meeting.
what time is the meeting, Mr. President?
That meeting is at 6 o'clock.
All right, I will tell you this, section 3.5 of the charter indicates in subparagraph CI, regular meetings of the city council shall be held at a time and place fixed by ordinance. Municipal code at section 2-16 says, except as hereinafter stated, regular meetings of the city council shall be held on the second and fourth Monday evenings of each month at 7 p.m. It seems mandatory language to me, but why couldn't we go to the hearing at 6 o'clock? I mean, we don't have to start the meeting before 7.
Right.
And ask them for the dispensation of being heard at the beginning of the hearing.
And I do know that those kinds of agencies are pretty good about letting public officials speak first.
That's the protocol,
yeah.
the federal, the state,
Yeah.
and then the local officials.
I mean, we had a hearing here about Route 12, and, you know, public officials spoke first.
Yep.
So, I mean, at this point, statutorily, you know, we're here on July 24th, so, you know, perhaps if we really need to, if there's a quorum here and we want to recess for a bit, maybe somebody can tell us they're on their way. But statutorily, we have to be here on the 24th, so. Okay, Madam Clerk?
Would the council consider moving Councilor Bedanza's petition for the public hearing until the first meeting in August in case, because we do have that scheduled for 6:50, and I didn't know if that would help with the time constraint.
Why can't we do it later that same night? And just, why can't we take that up again tonight and change the hearing date and time, time rather?
6:59 PM.
Or, yeah, then we can always recess.
Gives
the
us
regular
another 10
meeting.
minutes to,
Yeah.
6:59 is okay?
to
I
get
can,
in here.
I'll change it to that. Okay, thank
Well, I
you.
think we need a vote to do
Yeah.
that.
so does somebody want to make a motion then to reconsider the vote for the public hearing on
'Cause,
1-24, Counselor Cormier, Counselor Shalfo-Zephyr. Okay, so we have a motion to reconsider the time for the public hearing on 1-24 to be July 24th, 2023 at 6:59 PM. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, the important thing is that there's going to be advertised right in the paper, so that'll, as long as it's advertised for 6:59 PM, we'll be good. It gives us another 10 minutes to hurry here. Is there any other discussion on this matter before we move on? Councilor Frida.
Go ahead. No, I was going to, just another thought crossed my mind. We could always, and the council across and agree with me or disagree, if we were at the meeting at 6 o'clock and we saw how the mood was going at that meeting, for or against, I'm not talking about a side, I'm talking about being there. There would be nothing preventing us from coming back here at 7, opening the meeting and voting to recess. And we could go to that meeting and come back and resume the meeting at a later time. That would be legally acceptable, I believe.
Yeah, I think you could do that. I don't disagree with that. I mean, I would hope that within an hour's time, we could go there, present that position vocally, and that would be adequate. But if need be, I don't disagree. If there's some reason to do that, we can have a vote at that time.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this matter? Seeing none, anything to come into the community calendar? Counselor,
No, no.
sorry, good niche, sorry.
Get some air out of my face.
Anything to come into the community calendar? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? Counselor Shalfo-Zephyr and Counselor Arger, all those in favor of adjourning signify in usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 8-0, we are now adjourned. Thank you all very much.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.